Hi, I'm Charlie Torgerson with Charlie T's Foods, RC's Barbecue, and Charlie T's Smokehouse Barbecue Trailer. I also consult for restaurants, food and equipment manufacturers, and the Minnesota Pork Board. This video is designed to give you some tips and tricks on how to utilize Minnesota pork within your establishment. Hope you enjoy. Today we're going to be talking about pork as a flavoring agent. And the first thing we're talking about is various bone broths you can do. Here we have a pork shank that's been smoked. We have a raw pork shank, and we have some miscellaneous bones that we've taken out. We have a blade bone, a little tail bone, some rib bones, a little hip bone that we've taken out of a pork loin, and a Boston butt. We're going to be making the bone broth out of these miscellaneous bones that we talked about. I'm going to throw them in a little half pan here. A little oil, just enough to coat. And we're going to take them to about a 450-degree oven on high fan and roast them till they're nice and golden brown and got a beautiful color to them. And then we're going to take them out, put them in a pot with some aromatics and some water, and make a beautiful bone broth. We have our bones tossed in a little bit of oil. We're going to put them in our oven, 450 degrees on high fan. We're going to let them go for about 35 to 55 minutes until we have our beautiful color, and we'll be back to show you what those look like. Alright, let's check our bones. You can see that blade bone's nice and rendered out. Everything's nice and roasted. It's got a beautiful color. It's going to make a nice broth. We have our roasted pork bones in the pot here. I'm going to cover it with cold water. Again, we're only making about a gallon or so of broth the time this cooks down. We're going to bring this to a boil. We're going to reduce it to a simmer. We're going to kind of skim off the impurities, a little bit of the foam. We're going to add some mirepoix, some carrots, onions, celery, leeks. We're going to simmer it for about 2 to 3 hours. Alright, you can see what I was talking about here. We have this little bit of impurities and some foam that floated. We're going to get those out of there so we can get this broth nice and clear. So we're going to skim that out and we're going to discard it. Smelling really good. So we'll bring this back to a simmer it for 2 to 3 hours. We'll have a beautiful pork broth that we can make soups, sauces, etc. with. The broth has been going for about 2 hours. Looks beautiful, smells fantastic. We're going to remove it from the heat, let it stand on the counter for about 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to strain out those wonderful pork bones, all the mirepoix, cool it under refrigeration overnight, and then we're going to skim off the fat. And we are going to save that fat for other uses. Let's take a look at making some lardons. So we have some fresh belly and we have some slab bacon. Again, slab bacon is this belly, fresh belly that's been cured and smoked. So if you want a more neutral lardon, you can use the fresh belly, just add a little salt to it. Or if you want a little bit more smoky essence and more of a familiar taste to your guests or customers, you can use slab bacon, so either one. So we're just going to cut these, and you can cut them any size you want. I'd like to take a slab like this, about a 1/4 inch, and cut it and split it down the middle, and just take it and cut it in kind of not a square rectangle, but they don't have to be perfect and uniform, and just cut something like that. And the same thing with the slab bacon. Cut it about a 1/4 inch, split it down the middle, and again, if you want a more small one or a bigger one, cut them any way you'd like. So these we're going to just take and render out some of the fat, get a little crunch to them, and then they can be used in multiple things from soups, stews, obviously salads, pastas. Add a little bit, if you made smaller ones, add them to some crab cakes, finish it with some scallops with them just to add that essence, again, smoked or fresh. We have our lardons that we cut up, and we're just going to put into our pan here. And we can just adjust our heat because we kind of want to slowly render these out, and then while they're cooking we can kind of bust them apart. I'm going to turn down my heat just a tad. And again, we don't want them crispy all the way through. We want them crispy, but then they should have a nice soft texture in the middle. All right, you can see these came out really nice. Again, crispy on the outside, tender on the inside, like so. Again, you can cut these a little bigger if you'd like. It's about the size I like here. Or if you want to do something more of a filling, you might want to cut them a little smaller. But yeah, they're beautiful. There you go. Pork is a flavoring agent. Now we're going to make pork confit out of a boneless pork butt. So I'm going to take this pork butt, cut it into slices, 1.5 to 2 inches. And again, you notice I didn't really take any fat off because we want that fat for our confit. So I didn't do any trimming. This pork butt came in this way. Throw these pieces in our pan here. Cut these in half again. Again, I didn't do any extra trimming. I got beautiful marbling in there, so this is going to make some beautiful confit. We have our pork butt cut up. We're going to season it pretty liberally with salt, black pepper. I like to put a little thyme in mine, and a few garlic cloves. And in here we got some beautiful bacon fat that's been cut with some canola oil. We never throw our bacon fat away because it works perfect for this whole confit, because you want a lot of oil in there, and that bacon fat's going to get some beautiful flavor in there. Again, we're talking about pork as a flavoring agent, so why would you throw away your bacon fat? That is a flavoring agent. Just going to mix that up. And what we're going to do is then put this in a bag, vacuum seal it. We're going to sous vide it at 185 degrees for 8 to 10 hours. And then we're going to kind of just feel it and make sure it's done right. All right, we vacuum sealed our pork butt. It has our canola oil, our bacon fat, our thyme, our garlic, a little salt, a little pepper. We have our sous vide machine set up here with our water. We're going to sous vide this at 185 degrees for 8 to 10 hours, or until the pork is soft, tender, but not mushy. All right, our confit went at 185 degrees for about 9.5 hours. And it's nice and tender, so we're going to kind of just shred it with our hands here. And the reason I'm shredding with my hands is that once in a while you might find a little connective tissue like that you can discard over to the side. What you're doing is you're just looking for some nice shreds like that. And even this garlic got nice and soft, and we can just smash that right into the pork. Why throw that away? Again, there's some fat here. We can discard that and just keep shredding. We strained out the liquid, and we have our broth on the bottom, and we have our fat on top. And once this cools, I would take that fat and don't discard it, hold it for your next confit project. And it'll just get better and better, and just keep running that through your confit batches, and don't throw that away. And then the broth, of course, you can use actually to reconstitute some of your shred after you pull it, or save it for if you're going to do this kind of a la mute and just kind of get it crispy at the service. Put a little of that broth in there for a little extra flavor. And of course, check for seasoning. I kind of already tried this. It's pretty, the salt content's right there, but it's beautiful stuff. So if at this point we can make carnitas, out of this for tacos. Just a nice pulled pork sandwich, crispy pulled pork sandwich would be awesome like this too. Remember, we did use the butt for this, so it's going to be perfect. But you can see how nice that is. And here's that connective tissue I'm kind of talking about that you want to get rid of. That doesn't break down in the sous vide like it does in a smoker. So you just get rid of that. But then it shreds up really nice. See, it's not mushy either. It's got a nice pull to it. So it's going to hold up. There you go, confit of pork. There you have it. Pork is a flavoring agent. We made a beautiful pork broth. We use roasted pork bones, miscellaneous bones. You can use fresh shanks, ham hocks, smoked shanks. Make a beautiful broth and use in multiple sauces, multiple ways. We also sous vide a pork butt that we turned into a carnita, which is beautiful too. And we saved all that fat and all that broth. And then of course, pork Lardons. We used a fresh belly or slab bacon. Remember, support your local Minnesota pork producers and buy Minnesota pork.